Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to this week's podcast QA. I guess it's a QA, maybe it's just a subject. We'll just talk about subjects. This week, let me mute my playback. Anyways, I hope everybody had a great week. It was a fast week for me, which is sometimes the case, and it's Halloween weekend for some of you. I don't know. Is it really Halloween weekend if you're not going to be out trick-or-treating? Maybe if you have kids out trick-or-treating, or maybe if you're giving out candy. I don't think we've decided what we're doing yet. We are definitely last-minute trick-or-treat providers. Every year. It has nothing to do with COVID or anything. We've been like this forever. We literally decide like either the day of Halloween or the day before, like, okay, we're going to leave the porch light on and hand out candy. Or, no, we're not doing that. So some of you might understand that. Anyways, if you are new to the show, I timestamp everything. So when you're watching it, you can go right to it. And if you're trying to get a question to me, just do a question mark first, or you can do a super chat. Either way, I'll try to get to it as much as I can. And that's about it. My voice is good. I'm pretty good, but I've been doing a lot of bonus podcasts. And a lot of them are landing on Friday. So I have been talking since, what time is it right now? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been pretty much talking since 8 o'clock this morning. So pre-recording podcasts. So hopefully those will be fun for everyone. They were sure fun for me. Now, what do we have to talk about? We have a lot of stuff to talk about. It was a chill week for Guitar World, right? Nothing crazy. No one threatened. Nobody's out threatening to take away your gear or do anything wacky. But let's see. I know I pinned a couple early questions that I thought were interesting. Let me see if I can pull them up right now. And here's one that came from Wayne. Oh, you know what? Before we start talking, we should tell you two things. So last week we were giving away a $100 guitar crate. Some of you probably were wondering about that. Let me double check. As of right now, I have not heard back from the winner. The winner's name is Dave. I emailed him, and so as soon as Dave responds back to me with an address, if your name's Dave, check your email. If you're watching right now, you might have won $100 worth of cool guitar accessories. Anyways, once I have confirmation and an address to send a guitar crate to have that $100 gift of accessories sent out. They'll get that out to him. And today's show, we're going to give away a $45 guitar crate, which will look kind of like this. Well, this is a little much. I think this is more like the $100 one. But either way, you get the idea. It's going to be full of cool, interesting things. Like I said, they're a small company. And they're trying to get this subscription box going for the last couple of years. And they're doing a pretty good job. And I thought, hey, why don't we give some away? So we're giving some away each episode. So today I will pick a winner. And then next week we'll probably go to what we did last week, which was you'll enter to win it. We'll keep it interesting. It's Halloween weekend. So we'll just kind of fly by the seat of our pants. Back to Wayne. Wayne wanted to know, he wanted everybody to know, pardon his ignorance, but what is the difference between a guitar tech and a luthier? Ooh. This is a very common question because the differences are really confusing considering some people who probably shouldn't call themselves luthiers. It's a generic term. It's not just their fault. I'm not calling anybody out. I've done it. Unfortunately, when somebody calls me a luthier, I don't really sometimes correct them, even though I'm a guitar tech. I used to, but what I found is that it's not a great way to start a conversation with somebody with, oh, pardon me, actually, I'm a guitar tech. I mean, you know what I mean? I understand. But a luthier to me is someone who works building guitars, or they build guitars. That's the way I do it. We're not going to go, you could probably go and Google and get an exact definition, but the term, the way the industry uses it is, if you build guitars, then you are a luthier. If you repair them, you're a guitar tech. You're a technician. You're working on stuff. So that's the way it's done. Although some guitar technicians do refer themselves as luthiers. And I'm sure there's a line that gets crossed at some point. You know, if you're stripping the finish, refinishing, rebuilding guitars from scratch, you know what I mean? So much tech work. At some point, you know, why aren't you a luthier? I don't know. But I like to follow that rule, which is if they build guitars, we'll call them luthiers, and if they repair guitars, we'll call them guitar techs. That's a good rule of thumb. However, I've never seen a problem using the words either way, since they're both basically self-proclaimed titles. In other words, you know, somebody just goes, hey, I'm a guitar tech, and somebody goes, hey, I'm a luthier. I hope that helps with your question. And by the way, you don't have to pardon yourself. That's a real common question. It comes up all the time. Okay, so... okay, hold on. A lot of pedals out this week. I saw JHS came out with the Rat pedal that's kind of like that Tube Screamer, right? Where it's all the rats in one. So many rats. Rats. You know what's funny is I didn't get to see anything about it other than I saw the marketing thing with some rats. That came up on Instagram, and I was like, oh, why do they have a bunch of rats walking around? And I go, oh, it's probably for a rat pedal. I just kind of thought that. So obviously the marketing was effective. And then later I saw the announcement that I guess he made a rat pedal that does multiple rat tones. All the rats. So many rats. So there you go. And then I saw LPD pedals came out with a digital delay. So that's out. And I think that officially came out today, is what I understood. I watched a little bit of RJ Rinkelio's thing because it comes in my feed. So I got a little taste of that. So that was pretty cool. And then I thought, wasn't there another pedal this week? I thought there was one other pedal. I apologize. I'm trying to pay attention more to pedals lately. I keep telling myself I'd really like to do one pedal video a month. And so a company reached out to me and asked me if I would do a video of their pedal. And I said, of course, only on one condition, that I get to go on their website and pick it out myself, and I did. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's probably the most excited I've been in a little while because I'm kind of curious. This pedal especially is something I'm curious about. So hopefully, that'll be a fun video. Okay. Oh, Stout Coffee. Yes, the fart pedal. Yes, of course. That's from Gibson, right? They did the fart pedal. 10 million already sold, I understand. I heard it's like a 6-year waiting list for the fart pedal. I don't know. Yeah, I saw the fart pedal. I have not listened to it, and I don't know why. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm above fart humor by any means. I'm definitely not highbrow in any way. I know Ola did a video, and even though my mouse cursor was hovering over the thumbnail, I was just like, I think it was like, yeah, I've heard of fart. So somebody chime in on that. Somebody could tell me like, no, Phil, you're missing out. It's fartastic. So, yeah, so the fart pedal. So interesting week. Rats, farts. So maybe JHS will make a multiple fart selectable pedal where you can just like wet fart, dry fart. If you guys, anybody know Josh Scott at JHS has any kind of reach with him, reach out to him and let him know, hey man, we need a multiple fart pedal, maybe fart burp pedal. I apologize not for talking about this. I just apologize that I'm indulging myself by talking about it. Oh, yeah. You know, the scary thing is, I'll be honest, when I saw the fart pedal on Instagram, I follow Gibson. I've talked about Gibson before. The guys at Gibson are hilarious. I saw them make the fart pedal, and to be honest with you, it's one of those things that as a gear fanatic, it puts a chill up your spine before you even laugh. So I've been kind of awkwardly laughing about it because I'm like, ha, 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 that's funny. But also I'm like, yeah, this is that Happy Days episode where the Fonz jumps the shark, right? You're always afraid, like, does this kill the pedal industry? Because literally, this is the joke that kills. This is the Spinal Tap of pedals. Is it how silly it's got? I don't think so. I think we're still all going to be pedal addicts for a little while, but it was a little concerning and it did freak me out because. Especially since, think about this, talk about being straightforward and upfront about it. I don't even do hardly any pedal videos. I probably did 2 or 3 this year, maybe. So it's not like it would affect me in any kind of way for my channel or anything I do. It's just, I love them and I love talking about them. So it's like, oh, I don't want them to die. So, by the way, I will what? Hold on a second. Okay. I'm just going to keep an eye out on my emails just in case Dave emails me and says, yes, I shipped that $100 package to me. Christopher says, I put together a parts caster, but I can't call myself a luthier. Well, you could call yourself one. It's no laws. It's not like stolen valor or impersonating a police officer or a doctor. You could pretty much be like, I am a luthier. I changed the strings once on a guitar. I'm a luthier. Now, will you be laughed at? Maybe. People kind of question your sanity. Maybe a little. But there's no legal reason that I understand that you can't just go ahead and say that. You can literally make a shirt that says, I am a luthier. And then when people walk up to you, go, can you work on my guitar? You're like, no, I'm not going to do that. All right. Let's see. Okay, what else? Oh, another thing is, because we got to talk about this. Teespring does this, and I talk about this many times. Teespring reaches out to channels every once in a while. They're doing it right now, and they're giving 10% off. And there's a code. It's called, I don't know, Spooky Good or something. And we'll see the code in there. Why do I tell you that? It's not because I want you to buy any of the merch. I just want you to understand that if you take the 10% off, it doesn't come off my end like it normally does when we do discounts. So just be aware of that. So take that 10% discount. I tell you that because I've caught a couple of you buying merch when I've given discounts and not taking the discount. I think it's because you want to support the channel. Just be aware that if there's something you're going to do, anyways, take the discount. It's coming off their end. Doesn't affect my side of it at all. And so it's a win-win-win. A lot of wins there. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay. Let's go with some questions. All right, question. This next question is from Jonathan. He says, hey, Phil, do you know anywhere I can get a hard-to-find parts? I already know it's going to be about Ibanez. Before I even read any further, let's see. Ready? And I need a bridge for a 94 Ibanez Tallman TV 550. Is there anyone who makes custom bridges? No. What you will find, and I say no, I don't know is the right answer because I don't want to give an affirmative answer to something maybe is there somebody, some machinist in Germany who will make you a bridge maybe, or somewhere out there. Yes, I don't know. What I do tell you is what I always suggest is I would find a forum about this particular guitar. There's probably not only an Ibanez forum, but there's probably maybe a Tallman forum, maybe a mid 90s Ibanez forum. Either way, sometimes those guys have leads on parts. They know where to source them. When I've had rare guitars come in for repair and I needed a part like that, I've definitely jumped on those boards. And my experience is, although I'm not a big fan of those kind of boards, those pages, I find that most of the time, if you reach out and tell them, hey, look, I'm looking for this part. Can anyone help me? It's sometimes you get lucky and you find a couple people that are like, yeah, they know a lot of stuff and they'll help you find the part. There is aftermarket parts you can do to replace that kind of stuff. So, you'll have to do some modifications of the guitar, but consider that, as a possibility. But yeah, that's the downfall with a lot of companies like PV, Ibanez for a time. Now it seems more generic that they're all kind of going to these same kind of bridges, tuning keys. I'm personally for it in the modification concepts and the repairs later concepts. When they were making their own stuff, it would be great if they made that stuff for many, many decades. But a lot of times they didn't make, most companies, when they make a bridge or they make their own little parts, the bigger problem is, so let's not get caught up, they don't even still make those parts. They just contracted them. So they only run a couple, lines of that guitar for a few years and then they stop when the sales drop a little bit because they don't want to buy those parts anymore. So I hate it when they have specialized parts to guitars when you have to repair them. I love it when the guitar is fine because it's kind of cool looking, but I hate it for repair purposes. Okay. How do I go back? I had this problem before. Okay, there you go. We have... Okay, so this is Matt Wells who says, hey, Phil, I'm a hobbyist. I don't gig. I want a new amp. I have always played only combo amps. Taking money out of the equation, is there any practical reasons to go with a head cab instead of a new combo? No, absolutely not. I prefer combos by far. By far. And that took me a while. I started on combos. I switched to head and cabinets, and then I convinced myself I love head and cabinets. And to some degree I do, but I really enjoy combos. In most cases, I enjoy the combo version of the amplifier more than the head and cabinet configuration. And like I said, there's some exceptions. However, for me, it's a real estate issue. I've said this before. You can buy 1 or 2 cabinets and then buy, multiple heads. And that's basically how it works for me. I have like 2 or 3 cabinets and I'll have like 10 heads. So it just makes it easier for me to have different amplifiers. But no, if you have the real estate for it, no problem. Also, heads are a little cheaper, which is nice. You know what I mean? Because you save a couple $100 not buying the cabinet version or the combo version. And again, justifying more amplifiers. And let's keep in mind, the reason this is because it's not because I want to own a lot of amplifiers. It's because I know it takes a while for an amplifier to really, I don't want to say bond with it, but be part of you and part of your sound. There are certain amplifiers that I've learned that over time, if you have them for a certain length, they just will never go away. They just become this sound that you have and you're used to. And the only reason you stop playing them is because you're a little burnt out on that sound and you try something new. But most of the time, you're just experimenting with, okay, I like this, but let's see if I can find this. Okay. We have Voodoo Fist. What's up, Voodoo Fist? Can guitar strings really make a difference? I tried the Stringjoy brand, and I was hearing mounds of glorious tone and clarity. I could be imagining that they are good. The answer is yes to both those questions. You have to answer truthfully to both sides of that. There's always a placebo effect. There is definitely, besides the placebo effect, there's actually another term. Somebody will put it in the comments. There's a term for like when people pay more, they just sometimes just assume it's more. High-end brands are notorious for this. High-end, I don't want to bag on guitar brands or anybody. Let's just say high-end brands like Rolex, Gucci, right? Whatever high-end brands out there. They have strategies where like, hey, if we charge this much more, people are even more drawn to it, because there is a world that I'm not part of. Most of you are probably not part of, but there is a world where essentially some people want people to see that they have money. So they want the thing that they own to present that to everybody. And so yes, there's an effect that happens to us when we pay more money for something. We just assume it's a premium, whether that's a sound, whether it's a feeling, whatever have you. So absolutely, can you just go, hey, it's $12 for Stringjoy, it's $6 for D'Addario, and therefore I love Stringjoy more? Absolutely. However, it's also possible you're hearing a difference. I hear a little bit of a difference with the Stringjoy strings. Stringjoy, and I've said this before, Stringjoy to me is more of it's an artisan approach. In other words, we know what it is. It's a small group of people. You gotta understand something. D'Addario, as much as I love the D'Addario company, it is a very machine-operated company, which is why they have great consistency and quality. It's one of the things I love about them. However, they don't employ a crap ton of people because it's not really a heavy hands labor process. They've got a lot of machines to it. Stringjoy is making strings the way D'Addario did many, many years ago. I know this because Jim and John D'Addario, I was invited to the Musical Instruments Museum in Mesa, Arizona. It was at nighttime, so the museum was closed. It was one of those, seriously, like I wore a suit, right? I had a suit head to toe, and you have to wear a suit, and it's at night, and they hand you wine, and they didn't have beer, and because I know I asked, and they hand you wine, and you are at the like in the movies where the museum's closed, and you get to walk the museum at night. Hold on a second. And we were there because they had created a new exhibit, and the exhibit was for D'Addario, and it was, excuse me, I apologize. It was the machines, the original machines that they literally crank wind the strings, these old like type machines. Maybe they didn't crank it, but it was old. And John and Jim D'Addario told me, personally, they told me the story about how they found this in a basement, and it was from the original factory, and they hadn't seen one in years themselves. Those are the machines that literally Stringjoy uses. I recognized it right away as soon as I saw the Stringjoy thing. I was like, oh, that's what they're using. So to me, Stringjoy, you're paying more because you're paying for this hand labor. You're paying for the fact that they're making strings the old-fashioned way. Is that real? Does that really translate? It could. Like I said, I like them and I don't like a whole lot of strings. However, you could just be paying for the fact that they have small production runs and have to have more hands on but I'm okay with that too, because again, I'm paying people and not machines, and I feel okay with that. In other words, here's what I'm going to try to tell you. I think there's a difference between Stringjoy strings. However, what I will tell you is one of the things that I know I'm paying for is the fact that they can't make strings as cheap as D'Addario. So I know I'm not like paying the scam is what I'm trying to say. I know they're not just like, haha, we can make strings for 18 cents less than D'Addario and we're charging twice as much. I'm sure they wish that's how it works. Although I don't think so, because they're nice people, but you understand as a business. And so I'm glad you hear a difference. I think a lot of people do. I've had friends, I have a couple friends that tell me that they, just like you, massive difference. I have a couple friends that told me I couldn't tell a difference. And then they asked me flat out, like if your question didn't ask me this, but if you said, hey, Phil, I can't hear a difference with Stringjoy. I don't feel any difference. Should I pay the difference? And I would say, no, the only thing for you left to do would be to support the small business. And that, you could just, you could donate money to them, I guess, if that's what you want to do. You buy D'Addario and then send them some cash if that's what matters to you. Okay, so we have. You know what? I'm gonna switch over real quick if you guys don't mind. As I just click multiple screens, I need to refresh this one. What do we have? We have Antique Rocker with capital ROC. He says, have a good weekend. FYI, ROC, rock, is my favorite golf disc. So he's into golf disking. Is that what it's called? I know what it is. It's essentially this thing where people throw Frisbees into nets, right? There's a couple parks, one in particular that I've been to in my area, where they have that. And you just and here it's like, it looks like a desert because it's the desert where I live. And people just walk through it and throw like golf. Like there's not holes, but nets. Like I don't know if there's 18 nets or whatever, but I watch people play it. I go for, my wife and I would go for a walk around the park and there would be people playing. I was calling it Frisbee golf. I guess I had no idea. Now that you're calling it, as soon as you said golf disc, I knew what you're talking about. I've always referred to it as Frisbee golf. I didn't know it had a real name. I thought that was the real name, the one I made up in my head, apparently. So cool. So now I know that rock makes a good golf disc if I ever do that. Thank you, Antique Rocker. Jay says, hey, thanks for everything, Phil. I have an option paralysis. Okay. What is the best Telly style guitar with rosewood fretboard for under $1,500 to $2,000? All of them. See, that's the problem. When you add in a high budget like that, the answer becomes like, you just pick what you want. The question can only be at, look, I'll just say 2,000 because you said 1,500 to 2,000. So I'm going to go right to 2,000. What's a great rosewood fretboard Telly for under $2,000? Well, the harder question would be which ones are not that great. G&L makes some cool stuff at $2,000. Fender, of course, makes great stuff at $2,000. I mean, there's just a ton of guitars. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think there's ton. The Shiji guys make a fantastic Telly for $200. The Schecter makes a great Telly for $800. That's what I said. It's like it goes way. Think of this. I could take you from $2,000 all the way down to $200 and still find really good guitars. But I understand what I'm saying is confirming when you said you have option paralysis, because exactly that. There's so many good ones. Here's the thing. I wouldn't overthink this. If you have a budget and you have an inkling in your mind to buy a high-end Telecaster guitar, don't doubt yourself. Like I said, you're not in a price point where you're like, oh no, I hope I don't buy the wrong one and it falls apart. Nothing's going to like that. If you don't bond with it, there was probably nothing I could say or anyone can say that could help you. You know what I mean? Bond with it. Your instincts will be fine. You can visually inspect the things like, I don't like that kind of bridge. I don't like this kind of pickups. Just go that way. You can always have one custom made too. I mean, like I said, $2,000. It's pretty much everything. I mean, you're only cutting out like the boutique-y ones for sure. Happy Go Lucky says, Oh, this is a crazy question. I like this one. It says, hey, Phil, I love the show. When do you know when it's time to move on from a guitar you don't connect with? Okay. He's got a follow-up part, though, I want to read. It says, do I give it more time or just cut it loose and find something else sooner rather than later? Look, there's two things you have. There's a part to this question that's really tricky. I have personally bought guitars and immediately, within seconds, hated them. And that was everything I needed to know, and I moved on my way. However, I've also had a couple situations where I've played a guitar that I immediately hated, and maybe it was like I bought it used, or there's some situation where I can't just like go exchange it out for something else. So I'm stuck with it. So now I got to flip it to get rid of it. And then maybe I'm not in a hurry to do that for a lot of reasons. And over time, it just became magic. The problem is that I'm cautioning you both ways. Don't sell it too fast, because sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you is you buy a guitar, you don't bond with it, and you sell it or get rid of it, get another one and go, that one's worse. And then you start romanticizing why the other one was better. So what I'm saying is, if you're on a time crunch, in other words, like let's say you got 30 days to return it to Sweetwater or Guitar Center or something like that, and you're like, okay, I'm not bonding with this. I don't want to pay for it if I can get something else. I would definitely do your best to make the decision, and don't worry, send it back. It's good. However, if it's something that's like not necessarily a time crunch issue, in other words, maybe you bought it used off a Craigslist ad or something, hold on to it and see if you can come back to it. I've had it both ways in my life. Obviously, there was times where, and that's why I don't know where you're at. So I'm going to just kind of give you the two situations in my life. I've had situations in my life when I bought a guitar, and if I don't love it, bond with it, and it's not magic in every way, it had to go, because that was the end of my budget. I couldn't buy anything else. You know what I mean? So it's not like I can buy that and go, well, it's not great. I guess I'll have this not great thing. I had to either sell it or trade it off to get something else, because that was the only way I was going to get something else that I might possibly like. At this point in my collecting of the years and how long I've been doing this, if I get a guitar that I don't necessarily bond with, it can sit around in the background of my life, so to speak, for weeks, if not months, before I feel like I got to churn that money back into my bank account or get it into another guitar, something I find I can use. So I would do that, is what I'm saying. If you have the ability to keep trying it, keep trying it. If you don't have the ability, then don't take that chance and move on. It's a luxury of your finances, is basically what I'm trying to say. A lot of people are going to give you direct advice and say, get rid of it as soon as you don't like it. And some are going to say, try to bond with it. But what I'm telling you is that they're both right. And that's the problem. They're both right. You can, it's two or three of my favorite. Well, hey, you guys heard this. My Mira, it's my Phil's Mira. Mira's great. I hated the Mira when it came out. I don't know if I told you guys that. I hated it. By the way, you see me playing the Gibson SG all the time, that Sunburst one. Hated it. Hated that SG. I bought that SG and I was like, oh, cool, I got an SG, and I played it. And then I got excited, and Ralph got excited, so I bought Ralph an SG. And then we did a shootout with the two SGs, and Ralph's was better than mine. That made my situation even worse, knowing that his was like, oh, his neck felt a little better and his sounded a little better. And that SG just rotted on the walls. In fact, I thought it rotted for months. And when you guys mentioned, like, man, you're really playing that SG in every video, I don't know what I was doing. I was editing. And sometimes when editing new videos, I need a reference of an old video. So I'll go back in the backlog of videos to download, out some piece, or, use a clip and put it in the video. And I started noticing it was on the wall. And I'm like, years ago. And I'm like, how long have I had this? So that SG I probably had, I'm guessing you guys could know officially, because that's my stuff's all, kind of out there on the internet in order. I think it was like 2 years. I think I had that guitar for 3, I think since 2017 or 18. I could be wrong. Could be 2019. Either way, 3 years I had that SG. Did not love it. Did not like it. Did not bond with it. Had no intention of even keeping it. It was just sitting around. Like I said, I didn't bond with it, and one day it'll go. And then I don't know what it was. I picked it up one day and I started playing it, and I don't know what happened, but something in my life, like, just it bonded immediately, to the point where now the Mira has not only been, it's retired. So, officially it's been, it's been in a gig bag in the closet because every time I play the SG, I go, oh, I'll play my Mira, and I go, nah, I'm just going to play this SG, which led me to wanting a Vela because I wanted something now different. To me, the Mira and the SG are very similar bodies, similar shapes, different vibes, but similar. So that's what I'm going to tell you is that's my whole long story to tell you to caution you. Like I said, try to experience as much of that guitar as possible. And if it doesn't work, then move on, but definitely try to experience it because you never know. It's such a weird emotional thing, roller coaster, an instrument. Amplifiers are even worse, I think. I have amplifiers, the same thing. I bought it and I was immediately like, I hate this. And then now it's my favorite amp. And I've had amps where I plugged in and I go, man, this is the best amp I've ever heard. And then 5 days later, I turn it on and it sounds like that fart pedal. It just sounds horrible. And I go, why did I like this? So the Juggernaut says, hey, Phil, I'm putting a new Players Plus neck on a Baja Telly. The bushings are a tad loose. Do I need to do something to tighten them? Thanks, as always. So when you're saying bushings, so you're saying installing the neck on the thing. So when you say bushings, I'm assuming you mean there's 4 bushings around the neck bolts, or would be neck screws. That's what I'm assuming. And when you say loose, here's what I don't know. Sometimes they're recessed into the body. In other words, there's recessed holes in the body where the bushings fall into. I just want to make sure I understand the word bushings because sometimes I refer to those like furls. If I am correct in what I'm stating, that it is that exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the bushings that would go into the holes or, where the screws go in. If they're loose, in other words, they're not tight in those holes, that's absolutely fine. They just need to be tight against the body. If they're loose, like the screw is loose in there, as long as it's seating correctly, compressing, because remember, it's all about the neck is all about compressing together like this, right? So a neck, this is your neck, this is your body. They need to compress as tightly as possible this way. So it's just, the looseness shouldn't cause it to shift or do anything as long as that compression is there. So that you'll be able to tell real quickly. Hopefully that makes sense. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But like I said, sometimes when I'm reading what you guys are saying, it's a little hard to kind of visualize what it is you're saying. Ray's question is, what artist would I like to see get a signature guitar and on what brand? Interesting. So I'd like to, if I could I pick a couple guitars and brands? Because I'd like to get my brain working a little bit. So the first one that comes to mind is really not, I don't know why it comes to my mind first. So I'm going to say it, but it's about I want to walk through this. Probably Mick Mars, and it would probably be a Kramer. I would love to see Mick Mars get a Kramer, especially like the because everybody's going to have a different Kramer for Mick Mars. I'm the Dr. Feelgood era. That was my first concert I ever went to, 1989. Saw Dr. Feelgood with Warrant, and he had the mirror guitar and stuff like that. But to me, I'd probably just a Kramer with Telly, like a black Telly Kramer, would be cool. I don't need a special graphic. I wouldn't want that. And I know that's not. I guess that's your question. Yeah. What when I see? Yeah, I'd like to see that signature because that's something I would probably think about purchasing. That would be cool. The problem for this question, of course, is most artists have a signature guitar. I did a podcast with the Tone King years ago, and it's like, what artist has the most expensive signature guitar? And it was mind-numbingly crazy. It was 2 hours long as we recited, and the audience helped. We came up with what felt like an infinity amount of guitar players with signature guitars, which is why I tell you I will never do a signature guitar. And I always have to preface it. I have to state that I don't think I'm worthy of a signature guitar. I don't, and that's not why I don't want a signature guitar. Okay, that's part of an equation. So I don't think I'm worthy of a signature guitar. Great, but I don't want a signature guitar because everyone has a signature guitar. To me, that's how you become unique in the future. Don't have a signature guitar. That is the most unique thing I think I could do. And it works out for me because I don't think I'm worthy of a signature guitar. I only say that because sometimes when I say I would never have a signature guitar, it's a weird thing to say publicly. Here's why. On one hand, I have half a dozen, I would never call them trolls because I think they're right. I have half a dozen people going, oh, really, Phil, signature guitar. And then I have a half a dozen companies like, hey, we'd like to do a signature guitar. Like, the amount of signature products I've turned down since I've been a YouTuber has been, thank God, humorous to me. Otherwise, I would have probably just be, like, I'd be in shock. But I found it humorous. Like, really? Wow, that's crazy. But I get it. I don't think so, and I don't want to say anything other than this, but I don't believe you have to be a quote unquote talented guitar player to get a signature guitar. What I mean by that, I shouldn't say talented, but I mean virtuoso. I think there's confusion there, right? So, like, for instance, if Music Man did a Bowling for Soup signature guitar, I would definitely be all over that. So, you know what I mean? I'm not really a, virtuoso, like, guitar player fanatic, right? So, hold on. There's a great comment. I want to see it. It's for some reason YouTube, like, it blocked it. Oh, it went away. Okay, so I want to hit it. Somebody said this thing that always cracks me up. Somebody said it's because a bunch of, and this is off topic, but I promise I'll keep it on focus. Somebody said that basically these artists like signature guitars because they can sit on their asses and make money. Man, that is the most incorrect statement ever. And I'm not calling you out. In fact, that's why I'm trying to grab the statement before it disappeared. I'm sorry, somehow it got flagged off. But here's why this is important. No one's making any goddamn money on signature guitars. Now, when I say no one, generally speaking, 80% of the people are not making money on signature guitars. I tell you guys this all the time, and no one seems to listen to me. I literally I've seen numbers from companies. Companies will tell you, look, there's of course the winners, Van Halen, Clapton, Vai, right? I'm just picking a few. John Mayer, Petrucci. There's a few, right? Those guys. I'm not saying they made a lot of money. We're not even getting there yet. I'm saying they sell a crap ton of guitars. That's a crap ton of signature guitars sold. Matt Guitar Murphy did a Cort signature guitar. I can't even get Cort to give me an official number, but I think it's in the 20s. Most signature guitars are very unprofitable for everyone. Now, as a whole, for sales of units, let me give you an example. And I like to point this out. Some artists, because I've had a few on the channel now, and I've talked to them about this, and they'll flat out tell you the royalty deal is simple. Okay, it's very common in this industry, and it's a 6% deal. So you have to understand something. If you make a guitar that the manufacturer sells to a dealer for $1,000, you would get 60 of those dollars. Remember, you don't get 6% of the retail, you get 6% of the dealer cost. So again, we're talking about dealer cost of, let's say, $1,000. Street price is $1,500 to $1,700, depending if it's a bigger box with a bigger profit or a smaller mom and pop store, right? 30 to 40% margins is very consistent in this industry. So now you're talking about $1,000. The artist makes $60. Now, here's the deal. Let's play a game. And I shouldn't even need a calculator because this is going to be such stupid. Let's say, okay, hold on. I want to give you a number that makes sense. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let's say they could sell 2,000 guitars. That's a lot of guitars, right? They'd make $120,000. That's a lot of money. But it's really hard to sell 2,000 guitars, first. And second, which is really crazy, is most of the artists, that's the irony of this. Most of the artists that can sell high-end guitars, or a lot of guitars, they're not worth millions, they're worth tens of millions. So making 120 grand, again, I'm not saying they don't want to make money, and I'm not saying there's not greedy assholes out there. I get all that stuff. What I'm saying is that in my experiences of interviewing, interacting, doing what I've done for a decade or so, which is being a gear fanatic on every level and having no life besides talking about this stuff with either the companies, the artists, you people, is that most of it's, believe it or not, it's ego. I can tell you right now, and I think nothing spells that more than some of the signature guitars and some of the YouTube arenas. For instance, there are some artists in YouTube that have signature guitars, and the royalties from those signature guitars, I know for a fact, and there's no guessing in this, are a fraction of what they could make if they would just play more guitars on YouTube, right? But they want to have their own signature guitar. You got to understand, a lot of people, a funny part about this is, and it happens to everybody, I'm just as guilty. We're all guilty. Everyone watching this, we're all guilty. When I say all, I don't know, there's an age cutoff. I'm going to say it's 30. It could be 20. I don't know. There's an age that, of youth, right? Young, it's 30 and younger. I'll say that. I could be wrong. Where they don't understand anymore what we're talking about, the older players, when we talk about Guitar World magazines and getting the cover of Guitar World magazine, right? Oh, you got the cover of Guitar magazine. Let's be very clear, and I could get in a lot of trouble for this. A lot of trouble meaning, hate on the internet. Jared Dines was on the cover of Guitar World magazine last year. That was nothing. It was nothing. Look, I have nothing against the Guitar World magazine guys. I've met them many times. I've talked to them. They've featured my videos at least 20, 30 times on their site. I'm a Guitar World fanatic, but let's be clear. In no world that exists today did Jared Dines get more exposure being on Guitar World's cover than he did just making videos where he's like, today I'm going to play a 28 string guitar. So he did that. I haven't talked to him about this personally, but I can already tell you, he did that because the same reason when they asked to use my videos on their thing, think about this, when Guitar World would use my videos on their website, they put them on there and they go, hey, can we use some of your content for our website? And I go, sure. And I would tell all my friends, oh, I was featured in Guitar World. In fact, I think I was featured in 1 or 2 of the magazines for articles and stuff. And I was like, oh, I was featured there. And it was so exciting. In fact, so still to this day, very exciting. And probably the first thing I brag about if I brag. Funny part was I got like 400 subscribers out of it. because it's we grew up wanting to be on the Guitar World magazine. We wanted to be on Guitar Player magazine. And they're still relevant magazines. I'm not trying to diss them entirely, okay? I'm just saying the world's changed a little bit. We all have to acknowledge that in a lot of ways. What I'm also saying about signature guitars is everybody kind of dreams of like becoming a rich, successful guitar player, maybe just successful, and having a signature guitar. And talking to a lot of players that have signature guitars, I've learned, listening to them, not their statements, just listening to what they say, I can tell you, yeah, I get it. It's their ego. In other words, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have one. But it was that I want to have a signature guitar more than I want to make this money off the signature guitar. In fact, to the degree, I believe, listening to a lot of them signed really horrible deals that I was like, why would you sign that? And they were like, well, I want a signature guitar. Right? Some of them have crazy deals where they can only play that guitar wherever they go. And I like chuckle. I'm going, and what do they pay you? And this is an honest to God truth, crazy part of the new world. I can tell you this for a fact. And again, I kind of like Dragnet, right? The names are changed. Is it Dragnet that did that? What was that show that said the names are changed to protect the innocent? I'm not going to tell you the names. I'm just going to tell you that if you believe I have any integrity at all, I'm going to tell you that this is a true story. I'm just going to keep the names out, okay? I have a friend, which I have a couple. I have a friend that has a signature guitar. And this is the crazy part. He basically has to play it all the time and he doesn't make really anything from it. And then I have another player who's a friend who literally in one video can make more than the signature player can make in 5 years. It's crazy. So I said that. Why wouldn't you just do this? Why wouldn't you just play with whoever, you know what I mean? Whoever, sponsors you the best. And it's because, again, players like the idea of having a signature guitar. So the reason I bring that up is because here's why. I'm not here trying to insult them either. I don't want to insult them either way. I don't want to be out there going, they're in there for their money, or I don't want to say it's all about their ego. I want you to realize that there's different reasons why people do stuff. Everybody likes this weird, broad stroke of this is how it works, right? I believe this. Eddie Van Halen, I've heard so many people tell me that Eddie Van Halen, he's just in it for the money and that's why he sells the gear. I've heard that so many times and I laugh and I go, he's like worth like $9 million. I don't think he made, millions off his gear. In fact, I'm pretty sure he didn't. Not millions. He did get some big payouts, but I'm just saying comparable. I want to keep it comparable. Comparably, I don't think Eddie's real drive was that. I think Eddie really wanted, not his ego, just wanted people to play his gear. I think that's part of it. There's that. I've told you guys personally all the time. I love it when I see my logo out there. That's kind of the same reality for me. You know what I mean? Look, let's be very clear. We did the Zither limited edition Know Your Gear stands. We did 100 of them and we sold out in 2 weeks. And I never even had to make the video. That's how great you guys are. That's freaking awesome. The Zither people, by the way, were super excited and super stoked. I ended up getting 2. I got the prototype one and I ended up buying one for myself. Okay. So what's funny about that is that is exciting to see your brand out there, people be excited about it. So I think there's a lot of it there are a lot of players out there that are just excited to see you play their instruments. And money isn't the equation, because I've watched so many of them make poor money decisions. So, and then Christian says, dude, Eddie made a buttload of greenbacks. I guess, you know what I mean? Comparatively speaking, I bet you could probably Google it and research it. And I bet you, look, Eddie Van Halen, so you know, if people don't know this, if this is a true little fun fact, Eddie Van Halen did the solo on the Michael Jackson song Beat It, right? Was it Beat It? Yeah, Beat It. And he didn't charge anybody, and he got no royalties. He waived them. He's like, he just wanted to be on the album. Probably because he had a crap ton of money. That's what happens. Sometimes people, it's not like, basically everybody seems focused on money. You could be right. I could totally be wrong. I'm not here telling you you're wrong. I'm giving you a different perspective that I have talking to all these people. It seems like musicians by nature, so you know, most musicians, far from greedy, they're focused. If they were greedy, they sure as hell wouldn't pick playing guitar for $6. Hey, I'll pay at a bar for $6. So I understand later, I think you can become rich, and I'm sure you can become greedy, and I'm sure some people start out that way too. But the majority of players I know, it's just it's weird to me that the vibe is musicians are greedy, yet the most musicians I meet seems money is not even in the top 10 considerations they have. So. Sorry about that. I have to keep the palette going. All right, let's go to the next question. That was fun. I like talking about that stuff, by the way, so you guys know I like this, because this to me is the most exciting thing. This is really when I talk to my friends and we're just kind of joshing back and forth. This is the stuff we talk about all the time. Like not only who endorses what, but why and what's their logic. You know what I mean? It's interesting to me to see the logic, you know. And like I said, I told you I had a very frank conversation with Pete Thorne, and I'm sure he's talking about it on his live show too, that he likes having a signature Sir amp and guitar. And I've personally told him I felt that he could make more money if he went a different way. And he absolutely knew. He didn't need to hear anything from me. He knew. But he told me it was his dream. It was his dream to have a signature Sir guitar. All right. Oh, and to his credit, I once was busting his chops about the fact that he should demo his Sir Pete Thorne pickups in like a Mexican Strat, like do that in a video, and you'll sell way more Sir Pete Thorne Strat pickups, and you know you get a royalty off that. And he didn't care, not because he didn't care about anything. You could tell he's like, nah. He's like, the big thing for me was having the pickups. The royalty thing is, you know, it's secondary in his mind. All right. James says, if I buy a Gibson Custom Shop acoustic, okay, this year, will production have been, it's past tense now. Basically wants to know is, will they rush it? Would it be better to wait a few years? My understanding is that their backlog on the acoustics are nuts. So, I think everybody's going to rush it. They're all going to say they're not. I can't tell you every company. I don't know. You know what I mean? Every company. And I don't have friends that work at every company, but I have, you know, pals that work at a bunch of companies in production, and they tell me that they're working their butts off right now to keep stuff going, and they're keeping quality as high as they can, but they're working as hard as they can, but they're moving. I don't need them to tell me anything. Like we all seen, everybody here has bought guitars in the last year and a half. You can see that they're seeing more consistent quality issues consistently. And it's because stuff's being rushed, and it's just obvious. It doesn't even have to do with guitar gear. It's like all of a sudden, you know what I mean? You can buy a fan from Costco and it's missing the blades, and you're like, that's kind of weird. You're like, yeah, because I got to get it out. Don't you guys remember the movie Gung Ho in the 80s? Remember the Japanese manufacturer comes to the U.S. and they had to make so many cars that they're going to get fired and shut down the plant. So they had cars with no engines in them and stuff just to get on the thing. I've heard crazy, crazy stories over the years about what companies have done to fill a container to get it shipped out of Indonesia, Korea, China, you name it. You can pick whatever. And and I told you guys, I've seen crazy stuff. Anybody who's ever worked in any kind of guitar retail has seen crazy stuff out of the box. Like you're like, there's no way. Like I love it when people talk about like, oh, they didn't set this guitar up. Like I said, I've seen where you pull out a guitar out of the box and the bridge has no saddles and the strings are laying on the pickups and the neck. You're like, what? Obviously, they couldn't even strum this thing because they're just laying on there. So it's just crazy. So yeah, I would imagine you're going to be a little bit of that now, which is why you have to be savvy, right? Buy from reputable retailers that can support your purchases. Like I said, this is a good time to be more savvy than normal when it comes to your money and what you're purchasing and what you're, where you're purchasing it from. I've had a couple bad experiences. I told you guys on Reverb with retailers, small stores, because I'm trying to support small stores, but the small stores have seemed to be pulling the biggest amount of crap on me and on my friends that I've seen. And here's what's great. Here's what's great about Reverb. Because of Reverb's kind of customer protection programs, every one of those retailers have, taken the product back and refunded my money. And I know it's because of Reverb, because of what they're pulling. I'm like, I know that their whole idea was, I had a guitar. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about talking about this. Maybe I should talk about this. I told you guys I bought a new Schecter. A couple weeks ago, somebody asked me, hey, what do you think about Schecters? And I said, oh, I have a Sinister Gates and I bought a new one. The new one showed up and it was labeled as a B stock, a second, right? Because it had a blim. And when I got it had a crack in the neck. So I took a picture of the cracked neck and I sent him a picture back and I said, this is obviously been damaged in shipping. I can't see the crack in the pictures. And they were very cool in the idea that they go, oh, no problem, we'll send the RA. So they sent me an RA immediately, no questions asked. And I was like, all right, because I thought that was weird. I thought it was a little weird because I thought I was going to get an inspection, like, oh, okay, send out FedEx or UPS and inspect the packaging and stuff. They didn't do that, so they just said ship it back. I put the label, ship it back. Now, this is what's funny. This is just happened to me. This is why I was thinking about this. So obviously, before I purchased this guitar, I was following the guitar, as you do on Reverb, right? Follow it, and you're thinking about it for days. Should I buy it? Should I buy it? So apparently, because I followed it before I purchased it, when they relisted it, it came back into my watch list. I shouldn't say follow, it's a watch list. So a couple nights ago, I go in my watch list to see what's going on, the stuff I'm looking at, and that guitar pops in. And I go, oh, that can't be the same guitar. And I look, and sure as hell, not only is it the same guitar, no, I already know I shipped that guitar back, and it's got a crack. In fact, I can show you the pictures. The crack was like 6 inches long. So not only is that guitar back, same price, not described that it's got a crack in it, right? They just relisted it. And I'm like, it's crazy. And I know what it is. They're out there. Well, I think I know what it is. I should say that. I think they're out there fishing to see which one of us is dumb enough to take this. Oh, I guess B stock means there's a 6-inch crack in a guitar, right? Like, that's not B stock. The guitar's defective. So it was really interesting. And I keep seeing this kind of thing where, through friends, through you guys, where you're seeing retailers pulling crap. And it's maybe because they don't have enough inventory and they figure they just put out everything they have. Maybe because people are desperate right now to get anything for some reason, which is why I'm telling you this story, is not to caution you about that. Because obviously, like I said, I was protected. The next person, they'll be protected too if they buy it off Reverb from that store. And I don't really wish that on anybody to get a guitar and, crack and have to ship it back. But they'll be protected too. I just hope they're not dumb enough to take it. And right now, that's what I'm telling you guys. You need to be smart with your money when it comes to guitars. Make sure you're making the right decisions. And it's not a desperate market. What I've told you guys in the past, and I'll say this again, is I really believe that there's not going to be a lot of inventory towards the last December, where inventory is normally low in December, but it's going to be really hard this year. And I'm just talking about guitar stuff. I don't have any reason to talk about anything else besides guitars. What I can tell you is a lot of you are taking that advice because I am watching and I'm seeing sales. They have spiked over the last couple of weeks through affiliate links and all the stuff you get to see, right? You see like this ramp up of purchases and bigger dollar purchases. And I think a lot of you, look, if you have the money, that's where I'm going with this. If you have the money and there's something you want, I would do it now. If you don't have the money, well, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter, right? You gotta wait until you wait. But if you can do it, I would do it now, because your selection is gonna get slimmer. But remember, you can always just wait. It's a weird thing about this, always cracks me up. Just wait. I talked about this, that Bogner amp that I have behind me. I wanted that amp. It took me over a year to get it. I didn't buy it as a special blowout. I didn't buy it used. I bought it brand new. I just refused to pay the premium for it. And I finally bought it brand new from a dealer, and I got, I don't know, maybe 10% off, I think. I got 10% off, which was fine for me. And in the middle of the, hey, you can't buy anything, I got a discount. Like I said, it's kind of funny. Yeah, David says wait till sales slump like crazy. I think they already have slumped. But Dave, the problem is, and this is why I'm saying you got to be careful, sales are going to slump. They're going to slow for sure. It doesn't even matter why you think that is. Everybody's going to have theories, and I've heard them all. It doesn't matter why you think there's a slowdown. Here's what we know. We've been in a peak, and that peak is called a peak for a reason. Everything hits a point where it can't go any higher. So it's not about, I think everything's going to crash. Or maybe I do. I'm not sharing that with you guys. What I am sharing with you guys is that I personally think the peak is over in our industry for guitar sales. So it's only coming down a little bit. The problem is that we also have inventory shortages, and we also have heavy back orders. So yeah, you have to be crazy with that. And they're going to try to push that into an idea. I've already seen retailers over and over, even on YouTube, trying to push this idea like, you better buy. And the truth is, yeah, like I said, if you're really worried about getting exactly what you want, this one-in-a-lifetime guitar and this one-in-a-lifetime color, I would probably not wait till later to get it. I'd get it now. But everything else, it'll be fine. ST says, I just read an article that says Guitar Center was saved from bankruptcy by COVID. Well, they weren't saved from bankruptcy because they did bankruptcy. They filed bankruptcy. They're filed, as far as I know. Yeah, it was filed. It was filed and done and discharged. So Guitar Center did file bankruptcy and discharge it. So, and it was discharged, I say. They don't discharge it. The court discharges it. So... Okay. All right. Let's get back to guitar stuff. Like I said, I like to go all through all kinds of little kind of ups and downs to the live show, but I try to keep more of it on the guitar stuff and less of the, not everything on the industry all the time. Hold on a second. Give me a second to find out where I was at. I'm pretty sure I'm with Peter. Let's see. Peter says, hey, Phil, this is a situation question he's asking me. He says, what piece of expensive gear did you desperately want forever, but when you got it, if you had serious buyer's remorse? Thanks for the hard work. Love from Vancouver. Look, this is a great question, and I can honestly tell you that it's every expensive piece of gear in my life. I've had that experience. I don't think I've ever purchased an expensive piece of gear and literally felt like this is the aha, I don't have that feeling. In fact, I'm a little jealous sometimes when I meet or see people that have this like, I finally bought the $3,000 blah, blah, and there's just I'm never going to be happy again, and this is the greatest thing ever, or whatever. And I'm always like, I don't have that experience. What my experience is, like this Bogner is amazing. And of course it's amazing. It's expensive. I can tell you right now, I don't like that amp more than any other amp in the room at all. And at all. In this room, there's amps that are... I just bought it the other day for $320. I like it just as much as that Bogner. No exaggeration, no exaggerated claims. I'm not saying it's as good or better. I'm saying I like it just as much. I'm just as happy, and I'm fine with it. One thing that's nice is I do tend to buy a lot of crazy stuff over the last couple of years that I used to not buy because of the fact that I have this weekly show and you guys are asking me so many crazy questions, and it's nicer to have a resource of it. But I don't think you're ever missing out if you don't buy this high-end piece of gear, any kind of high-end piece of gear. It's not only, you know, what's the law of diminishing returns? It definitely exists to the point where there's just nothing to really to really uber desire that is a money thing, right? It's just, it's tough, but there's nothing, let me put it this way. There's never been anything since I was poor and then everything was an impossible, you know, to get item. Ever since I could buy any, you know, gear, there's been no impossible purchase item that I feel like I'm missing out on. So even when I buy an expensive piece of gear, it's not because I'm like, oh, I always wanted to land here. I'm just curious. You know what I mean? So yeah, most of this high-end stuff I regret immediately and continue to regret. And one thing that's nice about doing this YouTube channel and these gear reviews is that I get to kind of almost center that logic in the idea that I get to try stuff all the time. And it's nice because it reaffirms like, oh yeah, I guess I haven't been missing out. I can tell you right now, here's the funny thing about this. My very first video on YouTube ever was the George Benson amp. I'm not saying that's the best amp ever. I'm not even going close to that. What I'm telling you is that if I never had another amp after that amp would be fine to this day. Like, I don't look back and I don't think of that amp as, oh, man, look how far I've come with amps. I think, no, that was a good amp. These are good amps. Nothing's really better. There's things I like about other amps that are nice. Most of my amp journey, and I'm sticking on amps right now, most of my amp journey in life has to do with like this Bogner. This is a 3-channel amp. I was looking for an amp that does the clean, the heavy dirty, the blues. And I still, you know, it's tough. It's almost impossible to find that amp. And I can't say I landed on it. So yeah, no. But it doesn't mean I don't want to keep trying stuff. I do definitely want to try gear. But yeah, expensive gear, all of it. Every single piece of expensive gear I ever bought, I've regretted. Some of it to the degree where I got to get rid of it and sell it so I can not have it like weighing on me at night. And most of it is just like, all right, let's not do that too many times again in your life. Studio Rob says, what are you dressing up for as Halloween? I love the show. All the best. I'm not. The big thing for us on Halloween, like I said, we're debating if we're going to hand out candy or whatever, but we're thinking about watching a scary movie. Very chill. I have been, as you can tell, hold on a second. As you can tell, I have been, as why I'm drinking water, my throat's just drying out like crazy, is I have been doing these bonus podcasts and all these bonus videos. My goal is to take the last week of the year off. No, actually, let's be honest. My goal is to take the last 2 weeks off the year. Of course, I'll do the podcast, but then no other video content. And at the very least, the last week of the year off. To do that, I have to be ahead of schedule on everything because I want to take it off, not just for, because remember, YouTube's not my only job. So I mean, I don't want to do anything for the last week, and if not the last 2 weeks of the year. That's like my dream. And to do that, I have to be guilt-free. That's just my personality, right? Like I spend most of my day going, I never responded to that viewer's email. I never did this. I still have a patron to get back to. I didn't tell that company yes to that thing. I still have to edit this video. So that's like the way, right? Like, oh, this person's neck still off that guitar. Like, there's all these things that are just in my head all the time that I think about. And for me to relax, that has to be literally, like, I either have to be up to date or done, or at least feel like I put the 100% best in. So to answer that question is, Sunday, I think our plan is to just chill out that afternoon because we all kind of need it. I need a half day off, and I think Sunday's the day to do it. So I'm not dressing for anything. It's kind of sad. Frank C says, does anyone have any thoughts on the Boogie Mini Rectifier? I've owned the Mini Rectifier. I have the Recto Verb, which is the same amp, just with reverb, basically. And love it. Great amp. Fantastic. I think the Mini Rectifier is probably 1,000, 1,100 now, because I think the Rectoverb's 13. I think they're worth it. I mean, made in the USA, good quality, built, very cool. You know what I mean? As far as I know, Gibson hasn't done anything weird to them yet. Not that I'm saying they're gonna, but we're all a little nervous about that. Yeah, I can't highly recommend that. I definitely think my Mark V Mini and my Rectoverb 25 and those amps, I think they're very good quality and really built really well. Even though they come at a premium price, I think they deliver premium features and quality, and at least in my experience. Telly Driver. This is gonna. I just want to do this because it's fun. He says, "What was my favorite Halloween costume as a kid?" I think every year I went as an army dude. Yeah, that's probably the same. I'm serious. Like I went. So many years I went as army dude because I just had camouflage pants. Probably that I wore like to school. And then I would put on like a army green shirt, and then I'd put like some, because you could get that really cheap army makeup, you know, the green and brown and black makeup, and put camo on your face. And then I always had like what kid didn't have a play toy M16 kind of thing. And that I was definitely one of those kids that I'm into Halloween, by the way. I don't want to make that sound like my family and I, we're into it. It's a thing we're into. We watch Halloween movies like every night till Halloween. It's like, you know, it's our family thing, you know. But my parents were, well, first of all, my parents were on and again and off again divorced and together all the time. So half my life I lived with my mom, who's a single mom, in the single mom world. You know what I mean? Which is she works all the time. I'm a latchkey kid, and we have no money I'll just tell you, I don't know why, I'm just going to tell you this, but it's because my dad would never pay child support. So basically when my mom get too desperate to basically, you know, she couldn't pay electric bill, they would just get back together for a little while because at least he would pay, you know, so he wasn't a good person. So anyways, either way, you got to think about it. And then my dad, he lived in a world where he made money, where it was a feast and famine world. He was a commissioned salesman. So if anybody grew up with commissioned salesman, it was you either have steak this Saturday or we're, top ramen, depending on what he made. And so Halloween costumes and stuff like that was always like a really expensive purchase. Like that, non-necessary purchases were just things that didn't happen in my life. So I was, and my friends were all basically like me too. So Halloween was always like done on the cheap, and nothing could be cheaper than dressing up in the army pants you already have. So I don't think I had oh yeah, you know what? I got to take karate for a little while. And so then I was a ninja because I had a karate uniform. There you go. It's fun. All right. Yeah, Brian says, my dad was in sales, which made me never want to be in sales. Yeah, it was, it's crazy because people in sales tend to, obviously, like I said, feast or famine, income, and their attitude is usually glorious or horrific, right? It's either they're in a great mood or a horrible mood. It's a tough world. But that being said, we're going to talk about what Matt Wells wants to talk about. What does he want to talk about? Oh, no, we already talked about, Matt, so we have to do Maddie Two Hats. Maddie Two Hats says, Phil, I'm upgrading my Flying V copy to a real Gibson Flying V this week. Thank you for capitalizing real. It's awesome. Says, even better, I bought it from a mate. Thanks for your advice. You rock. Awesome. I'm glad it worked out. Great. If you guys recall, I had a white Flying V, and Ralph now owns it. Ralph has decided that he wanted a V. And remember I told you guys a couple episodes ago, I said I always buy a Gibson in distress. Like, in other words, I always buy a Gibson as a good deal. I shouldn't say distress. I'm trying to think of, make it sound like it's a puppy dog that you rescue from the pound. So anytime I see a Gibson as a good deal, I always buy it. And that V was one of those good deals I bought. So I bought it as a good deal. And then Ralph was looking at Vs, expensive USA made Jacksons, and of course Gibsons. And then I said, well, I have that white V I bought. He's like, you want to sell it? And I go, no, I don't care. Cause like, I'm like, you know, it's not being played. And so he paid me what I paid for it. So yes, which now means another, oh no, I don't need another V. It says, Greg says, hey, Phil, I must have a problem. We all have a problem, dude. You're hanging out on Friday talking guitars with a bunch of guitar nerds. It's not the worst problem, though. I wake up on Fridays thinking it's KYG day. That's, yeah, see? Earlier while practicing, I had to hurry up and catch the show. Is there any guitar rehab out there? Yeah, there is, but you don't need it. This is not the worst thing. You know, guitar has saved my life many a times. It's saved many people's life, playing music, you know, checking out guitars at night. Look, there's worse things you can do with your time and money. And some of us have experienced them. I have been very fortunate. I have had very few horrible vices in my life, but I do have vices like anybody else. And guitar is a much better alternative, much better. Like I said, at the very least, anytime guitar keeps me off watching TV, I feel like it's already a miracle. Litface says, is there a perfect desert island guitar? This question comes up so much. It's like the desert island guitar is the #1 question on YouTube. So let's find out where this goes. Is there a perfect desert island guitar that will hold its own both as an electric and acoustic? Gibson ES 125, 225 is close. Maybe a Mulecaster? Well, this question is really tough because as soon as you say desert island, everybody always thinks like, well, there's no electricity, so it's got to be acoustic. But I understand. What's the only guitar that does acoustic, electric, both? None. Everyone uses some kind of version like the Taylor T5 or the Godin A6, or like I said, they make the Hollow Body 2 by Pure S. I think the Hollow Body 2, actually, hold on. Excuse me. I think the Hollow Body 2, the import one, the $1,500 one, I think that's the best acoustic to electric I've ever heard to this day. I really believe that. And I still wouldn't say it's fantastic. I'm just saying it's the best. I think if you want a guitar that does acoustic and electric, you need to be okay with being unhappy a little bit in some way. So that's something to think about. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this question is, a 7-year-old Fender Telecabernita developed a new hump at the neck. And he's saying at the body after the 14th fret. Okay, so I'm assuming you mean towards 14th fret, towards the 12th fret. Okay, that would make sense. Straight edge still hits the last several frets. Best fix strategy. For that, I've told you before, I've talked about this on the show. What I will do is I will crown and level all the frets, and essentially you will level your frets probably from where the start of that is, let's say the 12th fret, to the 22nd fret or the 21st fret, depending on what that model has, a little bit more aggressively. But yeah, you're just going to level the frets. The fretboards, well, first of all, always make sure it's a hump on the neck and not a lifted fret or anything like that. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios. So, and again, when I give advice, a lot of times I'm giving it based on what you're telling me. So if you're telling me a hump in the neck, I'm assuming you've definitely confirmed it's a hump in the neck, which is not a common thing to happen in electrics as so much as acoustics. 12 fret hump in the acoustics is more common. I see that all the time. But in electrics, it does happen. There is a couple fixes. First of all, there's shimming. Sometimes you can just shim stuff. You may not even have to do fret work. And I'm just going to give you all the options. So sometimes you can shim. Remember, you can shim more than just putting the shim at the base of the neck and tilting it this way. You can shim the neck by putting a shim towards the front. It's not common, but I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, that's the whole point of a Fender guitar, is that the neck isn't attached to the body permanently, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Sometimes that fixes things. Again, with me not looking at it, that's one of the tricks. The other time is, of course, crown and level the frets, and that's usually going to fix the problem, because it won't matter if if the neck's got a little hump in it and it's a little high and the frets are higher when you play them down, sure, they'll be thinner than the other frets, but they'll be level with all the frets. And that's essentially all the string's going to care about is the frets are level. And in most cases, because we're talking about such minute amounts of measurement that you can't even feel that. You know what I mean? You would never feel it. Again, you may be able to see it optically if you look at it right, but you wouldn't be able to feel it. So there's your options. There's probably, I'm trying to think if there's a couple others. The other only options I can think of are the ones where there's not a hump in the neck, because that's really common for people to say there is, and then something comes up and there's not. You know what I mean? You look at it more, you make some more adjustments in the neck with the truss rod. But assuming you're correct, I'm going to say definitely either have to crown level the frets, or you can use some kind of shimming to see if you can sort it that way. The next one's from Michael, who says, "Hey Phil, I have an Epiphone Explorer Alnico Classic. Alnico. Why did I say Alnico? Alnico Classic Pros are tinny and bright. Okay. I want pickups that are more rock sounding, Iron Maiden style. Suggestions? Novice pickup knowledge. Sure. It's funny, when I think Iron Maiden, I think of single coils. but I understand what you're saying. So you have the Explorer with the Alnico Classic Pros. My guess is, let me look that up. I want to look up that because I'm doing it off memory, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Epiphone Alnico Classic Pro. And since we have the internet, I don't have to guess. We have, here you go. I just need to confirm something that I already think is, I need to confirm what I think is basically what I'm trying to say to you. Huh. Great. I found the one thing to click on that gives you no information. Does nobody tell you anything? How lame is this? Huh. What I'm trying to find out is, hold on. Let's see if I try this. Please be patient. I need hold music. That would make the show a lot cooler. Yeah, it's tough because it's an Epiphone pickup. And what I want to know is what magnets in them first. And I want to know what they're reading. And that is a little hard to come by, especially on a live show. And of course, everybody who's putting anything out there isn't really saying what they are. So I don't know. I'm guessing, and this is just a generic guess, but it's based on two things. What I thought I saw once, and also what you're saying. They might be an Alnico 2 magnet. And the way they're made, that's probably what's causing them to be bright. And of course, everybody hears things differently, like I always say, because that's one thing about pickups. Everybody's like, it's really bright. And the next person goes, I like those pickups, but they're too dark. So it's possible. I would definitely go with an Alnico 5 magnet, and that guitar would go with something a little bit more punchy. So maybe, like I said, the Seymour Duncan JB Jazz set, the 59s by Seymour Duncan, the PAF Pros by DiMarzio, and of course anything that's like that is what I would go for. Think about that. Go back more towards that style. That would be my suggestion. Get something that just kicks a little bit more. Not because you mentioned Iron Maiden. That is something that would make me suggest something that punches a little bit more, has a little more kick to it. But also, like I said, you need something that's a little warmer. And the jazz in the neck's a little warmer, and the JB is going to be a little warmer sounding. Even though they're really mid sounding, they're not going to be tinny and bright, because very rarely are those pickups described as tinny as bright. And they're pretty, and that's a set you can get used somewhere. I would definitely suggest that. At least you normally can get them used. So something like that. And then if anyone else has suggestions in the comments too, that's always nice to see. But I always kind of would say that's a good affordable set. It's really good. And then of course there's all kinds of off brands now that making affordable pickups, and you know what I mean, anything that's like that in what their descriptions, I'd say that too. Chad's question is thoughts on how much time and money you should be willing to pour into resurrecting a beat up but cool vintage axe. I got a Gibson Spotlight needs love. Well, you know, that's good. It's easy to give you advice on that. In fact, it's as the money is up to you. You know when you're not comfortable with it anymore. No one has to tell you that. You know, the saying is don't put good money after bad is a perfect saying, and that's exactly what kind of this means. Is if you're dumping money into it and it starts to make you nervous or making you feel weird, stop. Definitely stop. And you will go, and that happens because everybody gets to this point where they're like, okay, well, I got to finish it. And no, you know what I mean? Do the math. And here's the deal. It's got to be a passion of love. And you have to want this guitar, and the price doesn't matter. And if that's not the case, then I wouldn't put anything in it. And that's usually what I tell myself is like, how much am I willing to spend? And if the answer is really, it's not what do I have? I know what I have to spend. The question is, what was I willing to spend? What would, right? And I'm like, oh, I'd spend $1,000. And if I say that, then I'll keep going, even if that's where I land at the end of this, because like I said, I don't look at money as so much as a time thing. I'll eventually always have, either the time will work itself out and I'll have the money, or it'll work itself out because I can sweat equity it out, resource it correctly. Peter says, hey, Phil, I love the EC1000 videos. Oh, thanks. That's the LTD EC1000. I did a video and then I did a Sharp My Axe on. It says opinions on the 600-ish Euro LTDs, Strat Shape M2000 series. Love what you do. Greetings from Finland. Hey, greetings, Finland. Yeah, look, I'm a big LTD fan because I like Schecters, like I told you guys. And Schecter and LTD, they're kind of the same guitars. I personally think Schecter, to me, seems to have a better consistency and quality. In other words, I see less issues with Schecters, dollar for dollar, right? But that's not by no means an insult to LTD, right? There's nothing wrong with praising a company for doing a good job. LTD does a great job, and Schecter does, in my opinion, a little bit better of a job, and that's it. But LTD, I think, offers some more options on their guitars, which is nice. And I have found there's a price point in LTD, and it's just like Epiphone. When it gets really towards the bottom, then you're starting to see some, this student level, guitars where it's not made for someone who's been playing for a little while, or someone who's a little experienced and can recognize where the guitars have limitations and what their fit and finish and quality is. So LTDs are always an easy one for me to kind of suggest. Matt says, hey, they're made in the same factory. Well, of course. Well, most guitars are made in the same factory. But as I've always pointed out, that's not the world that everyone lives in. That's not, because something's made in the same factory is only one part of the equation. Matt, great point, by the way. I'm just going to give you the other point of that. I always say, look, it's not just because Chapmans were made in the same factory. Like, there's all kinds of guitars that are made in the same factories as other guitars. However, what happens in the new world where a third party or an OEM manufacturer makes a guitar and then ships it to the seller, right? Which is not the retailer. We're talking about the manufacturer, because the manufacturer is we use manufacturer as a strange term now. LTD, there is no LTD, right? They're made somewhere else and they're shipped to LTD SP, and then they ship them to dealers. So they're not really manufacturing them. They're wholesaling them. They're the wholesaler. The wholesaler's job is to do the secondary run of QA, quality assurance, and make sure they're right. And that's where I said, I think that's where Schecter really kind of shines. They have a really good ability to go through the guitars and pick out the problems. Like I said, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that every guitar company, I don't care how prestigious, makes a bad guitar. Sir makes a bad guitar. It has to exist. They just have to. Now, the question is, does Sir let us see that bad guitar? That's been my question since forever. I've been in this business. It's not about if a company makes a bad guitar. It's if the customer sees that bad guitar, and if they're doing their job, they don't, right? And that's the whole point. And I feel that's why. So when I say, and so like I said, to Matt's great comment that they're made in the same factory, that is a great comment. But I also, like I said, what I'm saying is that I think Schecter does a slightly better job at making sure that we see less of the defective or defective-ish product. So, and that's why I give them praise for that. And, and like I said, a lot of companies are good at it, but some are better at it. Dave6RTT6 says, Gibson doesn't mind if we see bad guitars. Absolutely. But I still like Gibsons. I don't know what it is, man. Whatever their stupid, I know what their marketing was. They let every freaking great rock star ever play them. Talk about the perfect marketing. It's the greatest marketing you ever do. You got everybody who I've ever enjoyed watching live or an album has a Gibson. So now I'm like, we all need a Gibson. Beautiful marketing. It's great. Okay, so the real question is, what's the real question? The real question is, why do they love them? Surf the Japstrat says, Phillip, have you ever played a Fender Pro Sonic amplifier? I have played the Pro Sonic. So the Pro Sonic is an amplifier that was designed by Bruce Zinky. And Bruce Zinky, of course, had Zinky amps, and then he acquired Supro and then sold Supro to who Supro owns now. And then Supro sold Supro. Like, Supro's been sold off a couple times. But yeah, Bruce Zinky, who I think lived up in Flagstaff, Arizona, he designed the Pro Sonic. So for you guys that don't know, Pro Sonic's like the precursor to the Supersonic. Now, not being an amp builder, repair guy, designer, if that information is totally incorrect, in other words, that the amps don't have any lineage to their anatomy, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the Pro Sonic, and then that literally the marketing goes towards they start making the Supersonic. Playing the Pro Sonic and the Supersonic, what I thought was the Pro Sonic, I thought had a better distortion channel, but definitely more of that Soldano higher gain distortion. It was definitely something new. I think the Pro Sonic was my first Fender amp I ever plugged into and went, whoa, I didn't know Fender could make this. And it was definitely this higher gain, really good sounding amplifier. A lot of killer features inside of it. Really was a fantastic amp. It's one of those amps that until this pandemic didn't really have any resale value for crap. But of course, everything now, when everything boomed. So people bought everything. And then you saw them inch up. But I mean, forever, you could buy them pretty low on the cheap. The only thing I didn't like about the Pro Sonic is I always wanted the head instead of the combo, and the head didn't come with reverb. The original 60s, the original 60 watt Supersonics, the heads didn't have reverb. So it wasn't until they did the 22 watt Supersonic they did reverb in the head, all into the combos. So like we talked earlier on the show, why I prefer heads over combos is just for convenience. I was like, I want the Pro Sonic for the head, but I kind of wanted the reverb too. So, but yeah, great amplifier. So if you guys ever see one in a store, trust me, what's great about Fender amps, and you will do yourself a wonderful favor if you do this. If you're ever in a music store and you see those, Fender's made so many weird ass looking generic, Fender type, generic meaning like it looks like the normal Fender you see, but there's just nothing spectacular about it throughout the years. And some of them are solid state and some of them are junk and some of them are great. When you see weird Fender amps you've never seen before, plug into them and play them. If I was going to guess, just to be fair, 7, maybe 6. I'll be nice. 6 out of 10 times, but I'll say probably 7. 7 out of 10 times is not going to be a great experience. It's going to be something you're like, I didn't miss out. But every once in a while, you get to plug into like a Pro Sonic, and that's an amp that most players, if you plug into a Pro Sonic, you're going to go, why'd they stop making this? This was great. Tim Ham. Says, have you ever owned a Heritage? I have an H150 Les Paul style that I got for about $1,700 2 years ago, and it looks and feels boutique. Really like their value versus Gibson. I have not owned a Heritage guitar. Like I said, I reviewed one once on the channel, and then that one had to go back. They sent that back, and right after that, I think I talked about this on guitars that I regret getting rid of, or not, the ones that got away kind of story. That was the Heritage. What happened with Heritage was I never tried one until that day. When I tried it, I was like, oh, I love this. And definitely I'd committed in my mind. I'm being, very obviously upfront about this. I was like, I was going to get rid of all my Gibsons and go Heritage, because I was like, who wants to support the big corporation? I can support Heritage. And then ironically, right after I reviewed the Heritage, the company, they had a walkout. They fired a bunch of their employees, and the other employees walked out. And the issue was the fight was over the fact that they were getting rid of all the heritage of that company and going to CNC machines and stuff. I read a little article that talked about the whole thing after it all happened. I had a couple of employees reach out to me to tell me what happened. To say, hey, look, we like your channel, but you should know what's going on with these guys. It's not very good. And then it was kind of like this. It worked out easily for me. They never reached out to me, and so I had no reason to reach out to them because I hadn't heard what happened. So I don't know. And like I said, I tell you guys that story mostly because I know there's so many guitar players that hang out here on Friday. If you guys know stuff, please send it to me or let me know about it. I'd be curious to know. Like I said, my understanding is Heritage does not use the same process and same machines, handwork, and all that stuff they did on that they've always done. Like that was the whole point, right? Was the old Gibson factory done the old way by the old employees, and now my understanding is the old employees are gone and it's all CNC now. So buying a new Heritage, I'm essentially just buying a Gibson. You know what I mean? I'm not, and that's the point. And look, let's be very clear. And I've said this about G&L. I'm a huge G&L fan, but again, up front, G&L Heritage. I like G&L more than Fender. I like Heritage more than Gibson, and the idea that I like a smaller company more than a bigger company. It's just something I relate to more. I want to support them. However, I understand that part of that support that I give them is I have to pay almost the same price, and the resale value is for crap. So it really bugs you when they start making decisions like the bigger companies. So like I said, I'd love to know about Heritage. If anyone knows if they actually did that. I just know that I know for a fact was they did fire a bunch of 6 employees, and then the rest walked out. And it sucks because those were the people I was talking to when I was doing the video, because they were telling me how excited they were that the new company bought them and saved the company, and they have their jobs and they just want to make guitars, and then it all fell to crap. It was really, really bummer. In fact, I actually put it up there with the same as Gibson running over all those guitars. It was well, I guess that's how that ends. So like I said, I'd love to hear different, if that is true. Let me know, guys. Somebody knows. Some of you guys probably go there. I'm too far away. They're on the other side of the country. I can't go and just visit the factory. So I'd love to go visit their factory and check it out. Seth says, I'm a Strat guy. It's good. It says 2 USA Fenders, 1 Schecter, 1 made in Mexico, and I really want a Les Paul, but every one I play feels underwhelming for my money. Thoughts? Epiphone. Look, you don't have to buy Epiphone. You just buy one of those. Sire makes a fantastic guitar. I say, look, I like Epiphone. You can buy that. But, I mean, there's tons of Epiphone You don't need an actual Gibson for your single cut. You can buy, especially like I said, you have 2 USA Fenders. You have some nice guitars. The Made in Mexico Strat. You have the Schecter. You find a deal. When you're trying to experiment with this, it's really tough because your brain is like, hey, I want to find the ultimate single cut guitar. Once I do that, look, I'm sure all your Strats weren't just so easy. You know what I mean? So it's, over time, you playing guitars, you find the ones that fit right. So it's tough. Also, thoughts to think of PRS. Look, you don't have to have a Gibson. Like we just talked about with Heritage. You don't have to have a Gibson to get the guitar you want. You can get a Heritage. You can get, you can get a PRS. You can get a Aria Pro. You can get a Harley Benton. You can get, I'm looking around my room. You can get, like I said, what'd I say? Sire. Sire's fantastic. There's a ton of guitars you can get. And make it a game, because I understand sometimes people are like, I don't know, I'm not looking for the cheap guitars. I'm looking for something a little more expensive, a little nicer. But you can make a game out of trying to find a really cool and interesting, less expensive guitar. That's part of the factor of this. And not to mention, like I said, not all guitars, that's a studio Les Paul behind me. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? It's not going to be, like I said, price doesn't dictate anything. You know what I mean? It makes it to where it's harder for you to buy it, but it doesn't dictate that one guitar is going to be better than the others. It's just not true. I can't, at this point, reviewing as many guitars as I have, going through them, what I can tell you is that I've experienced some bad guitars, I've experienced some great guitars, and none of that was as easy as me to say as what everybody wants me to say, by the way. Everyone wants me to tell them, Phil, at what price point are guitars great? I wish I could tell you that. I could tell you where I think some of the normal mistakes start kind of moving away, you start seeing this stuff. I think once you hit $1,000, I think guitars, you stop seeing less and less problem type guitars. But that's still, even saying that out loud, I hate saying that because that's not really like anything kind of, a firm. That's not a firm fact. Just generally, 1,000 ISK guitars, $800 to $1,200, you tend to see a lot more. You tend to see a lot less problematic issues with guitars. Because of the fact that, at that price point, they can sort through the QA a little harder, but that's still not a guarantee. Matt says, would you say that the models on the HX Stomp, can give you a good feel for sounds of a boutique amp like a Dr. Z or Matchless? Well, how I ended up liking the Helix stuff was ironically because of Dr. Z. And it happened backwards. So, I think they call it, and I'm doing off memory, I can't remember because I changed the name of it on my preset. It's Highway Doctor, right? I think it's what it's called. There's whatever it is. There's an amp in there called Highway Doctor or something like that because, obviously for trademark purposes, they can't say Dr. Z. And I fell in love with that sound on that. And that's the one I fell in. I didn't like anything on the HX stuff, Helix and all that stuff. I was just not finding any of it interesting. And then I found that tone and I started playing with it and I started making it into different profiles. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I really like this. And what happened was I ended up buying a Dr. Z because, gear math. Hey, if the synthetic version's good, the real one would be better. Yeah, the Dr. Z is probably a little better, obviously, right? But it was very good, and I still use it. So can you give you the same feel and sounds? No, I don't think that's important though. And this is just my travels, my journey. When it comes to these processor type products, like I said, whether it's a modeling processor like Axifex or our Kemper profiling stuff, or Amplitube, or a guitar rig. All this stuff is fantastic. I mean, it's literally fantastic. I use a lot of it. I love it. But it's because it does so many cool things that I love, like make it easy to record, sound good, right? It's like really hard to get that stuff to sound bad in recordings. It's really also hard sometimes to get it to sound great in recording, right? To be honest with you, that's one of the things it does. It makes everything sound good, but it makes very few things sound great. But it can be done. But however, when it comes down to just plugging in an amp, oh man, it's just that, there's just something happening but not just the tube. Everybody's like, oh, it's the tubes. They're just responding. And sometimes it's just the speakers too. The speakers, air, movement, the room, everything's happening. It's a magical experience. However, again, I don't need the Helix to give me that experience. Okay. That experience is for me. It's not for the listener. It's not for the audience. It's for me, and hopefully inspires me or it puts me in a good mood. But like I said, sometimes when I'm just plugging in and want to just play and record, it's just nice to do exactly what I just said: plug and play, record. The Bogner, and just because it's in frame of camera today, the Bogner is a perfect example of this. I could plug in this Bogner right now, and if you asked me, if I plugged into it and I strummed a chord, and you go, "What do you think?" I go, "Oh, it's Bliss." And then if you told me to record it and I get the mic out and we start marking the cabinet, that's 2 hours of hell. EQing. Why is it so bassy? I have this problem. I was just laughing about this. I have this problem with two of my amps. I have a Friedman twin sister, which is the Dirty Shirley. And then I have a Friedman small box. And here's what's interesting about them. It's just my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion. So not to offend those that have those amps. I don't enjoy playing the small box in any frame of mind, anyway, whatsoever. When I plug into it, like plug in a cabinet, plug into it, strum a chord, play on it, it sounds great. It doesn't sustain the way I like amps to do. It just doesn't do anything that I like amps to do. It doesn't have a lot of low end to it. There's just nothing about it that's like, ooh, right? Now, the twin sister, the Dirty Shirley, I plug in that, and it's immediately everything I want in an amp, and it's perfect. But I will tell you this, and this is honest to God truth, recording wise, the small box records so easy and effortless. It's like I plug it in. It's just like I plug it into it. I put a mic in front of the cabinet, and it's like everything that comes out of it is like, yeah, that's perfect. And then the twin sister, Dirty Shirley, that's the one you spend forever trying to dial out some low end or flubbiness or some muddiness that I don't like. So the reality is, I tell you that story just to remind everybody that sometimes, like I said, gear's tools, and sometimes they do great things. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They do a great thing. So that's what the Helix can do, and the HX Stomp and stuff, and the Axifex stuff. Sometimes they can just give you this great sound effortlessly. But the reason I say all that is because you said in your comment, sounds of a boutique amp like the Dr. C, but you said feel and sound. I have not played anything, and I've played all of it at this point, for the most part. You know what I mean? That's, I dare say, synthetic, that feels like a tube amp. That doesn't mean I don't like it. It just doesn't feel like it. I always understand. It's only the people that get upset about it, the people that swear like, I don't know who I pick, Kemper. My Kemper is just like a tube amp. And I always go, then why do you say it's just like a tube amp? Why are you trying to imply it's as good as something if it should be just good on its own merit, which it is. It's good on its own merit. It just, there's things about tube amps that are cool. So, are different, I should say, that are cool and different. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I was just rambling through that one. But, okay, so I watch stuff. He's got a philosophical question for me. At what point should a guitar be thrown away? Why is that philosophical? Why is that philosophical? I don't know. When it's absolutely no good, when it can't be fixed. I don't know. I don't think you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that you already know what I'm going to say. I don't think you should ever throw a guitar away. I think there's always somebody looking for a guitar. I think guitars, like I said, could be turned into art. You're like a guitar. If you tell me there's a guitar with a twisted neck and the neck can't be fixed, cool. And it's got, whatever. Whatever's wrong with it, right? The electronics don't work. This is wrong with it. You can't find a part for it. Perfect example. We were talking about Ibanez earlier. Got a guitar, you can't find that part for it. You can always do something with it. I'm not saying you should, stick some stuff on it, spray paint it, throw it on your wall, but you could give it to somebody who can turn it into art. I would imagine somebody wants it. Look, and here's why I should remind you this. Anyone, again, who's worked in kind of guitar retail for many years will tell you this. People come in your stores all the time looking for exactly like that. Do you have any guitars you just want to throw away? We want to turn them into art. So I don't think there's any point a guitar should be thrown away. So there's just no reason for it. It's not like a lot of things that you can throw away and dispose of. There's always some kind of use for it. And art is only my basic, boring answer. I'm sure there's lots of cooler answers that people can think of in the audience. Meester says, musician's friend are better than I am as guitarist. Wait, musician friends, not musician's friend. He's not talking about a guitarist and a musician friend. He's saying his musician friends. Friends that are indeed musicians are better than I am as a guitarist, but non-singers barely sing. As a decent singer, I'm going to study voice again and play rhythm. Sure, you play to your strengths, man. That's the thing. There's a couple things that I think if you are a musician, which everybody here is a musician if you own an instrument. Remember, all you got to do to be a guitar player is own a guitar, to some degree. However, here's what I'm saying. There's two terms that I love that musicians use, and they're fantastic. Know your audience, which is also something actors would say, but I'm going to say guitar players and musicians, again, use that love. I love that saying. Know your audience is like the whole world should adopt that and live it like it's live it. What's that movie? Live it, learn it, live it, love it, whatever. Of course, that's important, right? Know your audience. So many people who say things and it's wrong, and you're like, know your audience, man. What are you doing? This is not the place to have that discussion. And so know your audience is one of them. The other one is play to your strengths. That's definitely another thing that artistic people, whether they're, again, actors, musicians, what you do, play to your strengths. I did a podcast once with Tyler Larson from Music Would Win, and it was on his channel, still is on his channel. And we discussed that, and I never really came up again after that. And I always think of that discussion with him, because I've had some interesting discussions with him over the years, just briefly when we had them. And one of them is play your strengths. Look, if you love music, this is my story I told on his podcast. I love music, so let's just stick with me. I love music, so I just want to be around music all day. Okay, that's it. You know, I'll be honest with you. Part of my life, it's been driven by this idea that if I could just listen to music, you know, some people dream about jobs. Like, I wish I had a corner office. I wish I had, you know, I don't know, a giant company. I wish, you know, I sailed the seven seas. I don't know what people wish for. All I cared is I could listen to music all day. I don't care what I did. I just wanted to listen to music. And I knew that about myself, but I didn't follow that. You know what I mean? For a while in my life. And I worked in a very corporate environment, and I was very good at it. And I did well. And it's a lot of the things that are good in my life and my family's life is because I worked a long time in the corporate world in management and stuff. However, you know, we couldn't listen to music. It wasn't that environment. And I just wanted to be next to music is what I always say. I just want to be with music all the time. So to me, I go, how do I do that? Well, I was like, I can repair guitars. Like I can build them, right? Like I didn't have a passion for building or fixing guitars. I had a passion to be with music. And I wasn't a fantastic guitar player, so I couldn't, you know, I didn't make it and as a fantastic guitar player. I can't sing, so I can't be a singer. So it's like you take what your strengths are and you go, how can I turn this into music? Whatever this is. And what I think the failure that's happened to many generations before us and hopefully will slowly stop, and that's what YouTube does now, is you have tons of mentorship on YouTube, tons of videos for people to learn now, all kinds of things besides just how to play songs, because that's what was taught to me when I was a kid and I go, I want to play music. I didn't really want to play music. I just wanted to be around music. And then somebody's like, learn guitar. And that was just the answer. Oh, if you want to be around music, you better be a musician. But no, you can be an attorney for a musician. You can literally fix guitars. You can build guitars, or instruments, I should say. You can become a YouTube channel, apparently, and talk about guitars. I mean, there's all kinds of things, right? You can become a radio DJ. You know, let's say you got a good voice, become a radio DJ. You can become a tambourine player. You can carry the gear for the band, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that's a job. Somebody has to haul that stuff. And all these jobs sometimes are a little less glamorous than others. But if you can make a living being around music, if that's what matters to you, and that's what matters to me, okay? I want to be around music. And whatever that is, I'll do that. And really, I'll be honest with you. I've said this before, and I always really, like I said, I'll say it over. I guess I'll keep saying it. I just found I had an aptitude for building and fixing guitars. And then I was like, well, I guess this is what I'm good at. But I had no desire to do that. Like it wasn't like, just one day I just want to learn how to fix guitars. I just started doing it out of a necessity thing. And then somebody was like, I'll pay you to do that. And I'm like, oh, is that how I become next to music? Because then I'll do that. And then I go, well, how do I do this more? And then I open a music store. Not because I have a desire to sell stuff or retail or be rich business mogul guy. None of those things occur to me, and I could care less. It was, I just want to be around music. And then when I started making YouTube videos, same thing. People were like, oh, you can do YouTube videos. And I was like, oh, is that a thing? Okay, I'll do that. Every day in my life, whether I realize it or not, that's the focus, is how do I be around these things that I love and the people that love these things, being musical instruments and music, and how do I engage with them more and more? And then how do I turn that into income? And I do that to the detriment of what I talked about earlier when I was talking about artist models. I constantly am taking decisions that I'm happy with, by the way, that are less financially beneficial to me, because my main goal every day is, how do I be with music, right? Almost like music is a beautiful woman that I can't live without. Kind of like my wife, same logic. I'm like, how do I make this thing love me back and give me an income? And so the reason I go into that speechy thing is, let's get back to your question, is that's what I say about play to your strengths. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, Meester, is that if you can sing, then you sing. but play guitar too if you want to. But if you can't play guitar, play drums. You know what I mean? If you can't play drums, tune drums for a drummer. Like I said, I don't find shame in that. There is no person on this planet Earth that's ever going to point at me and ever make me feel like, haha, all you did is be on YouTube. I'm like, you know what? It's on a Friday afternoon talking about guitars, man. That's all right. That's it. I'm with music. I love that. And I can tell you like that. That's how come people build pedals. That's how come people build guitars. Again, if it matters to you, you'll make the decision. So I think, by the way, Meester, great decision. If you have a strength that's vocals and you can lean into that, lean into that. There's no shame in that. There's only success in that, as long as at the end of the day you're happy, because that is a hard thing to pull off. Being in this industry, that's why I will do, you know, like I said, I'll take out Metallica's trash. That's what gets me next to music, because, you know, there's no shame in that. Meester says, I never had much gear as a vocalist. Wonder if my guitar gear gas will lessen. I know. No, that has nothing. One has nothing to do with the other. Let's not ever confuse guitar players with gear addicts. We're not going to wrap up the show. I'm going to go at least 10, 20 more minutes. I did my podcast today with Mark Tremonti from Tremonti, Alter Bridge, and Creed. And it will probably go out in the next few days. Soonest would be Sunday. Latest will probably be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And I will tell you, honest to God, gear nerd. You know, this is a guy, I don't care what you think of him. He's sold double diamond records. You know what I mean? He's been as successful as a person can pretty much become in the music industry. And he immediately in the conversation with me, as soon as, I'm not saying I could tell what he's thinking, but I mean, I felt like as soon as he figured out that this is a guitar nerd environment, he went guitar nerd. You know what I mean? I've seen a ton of interviews with him, and he talks about music and music theory, and as you guys know, he teaches. He has behind the stage lessons, and he teaches all the time. He has clinics. We didn't talk any music theory. He went right to guitar nerd. He saw his own, right? You know your audience, right? He knew his audience. He's like, here's a guy that's got a Bogner behind him and a couple guitars, and he's like, we're talking amps, we're talking guitars, and we went into that, and So, Meester, what I'm trying to tell you is that, no, if you have this thing that drives you to look at guitar ads in magazines or look at Reverb at 12 o'clock at night before you go to bed, that has nothing to do with being a guitar player, man. I have friends that are guitar players. They literally look at no guitars ever. They just play music, and God bless them for that too. Everybody's got like I said, everybody's got their thing. And that's why I tell everybody, it's okay to do both. It's okay to play music and still have an obsession over what's the new color Fender came out with. I would, like, if somebody was like, if aliens came to this planet and said, tell us what a guitar player was. At no point in the discussion of me explaining what I think a guitar player was did I go, oh, and they obsessively need to know what colors Gibson's putting out in January. So they're one and the same, but different. One metalhead dude, nice, I like it, says, hey Phil, what's your favorite pedal board brand? Sure, I use two pedal board brands. I use Holy boards and I use Temple boards. And the reason is because I don't do Velcro. And early on in my YouTube world, I made a video called how to live with a, what was the video called? I gotta look it up. It was like how to live with a dog-free pedal board. This was the video I made, had nothing to do with YouTube. I made this video because my wife got a second dog. My wife treats dogs like I treat guitars. They just show up at the house, and it's like, oh, is that another dog? She's like, is that another guitar? I'm like, it's fine. Anyways, and so what happened was I don't like how the dog fur gets into the Velcro and stuff. So I look for a solution. That's how I found Holy Board. So I've been using Holy Board for years. Chris, the owner of Holy Board, is a really cool dude, made in the USA, built really well, small operation. Again, if you can support those kind of businesses, I'm always for it. As you guys know, I don't really shun any business, but I promote the businesses that I can connect with the strongest. Temple Boards, I believe, is a Canadian brand, and they make their boards in Canada, as far as I know. It says made in Canada when you get them. So that's another cool thing. And again, a slightly bigger operation, but still a small business. And again, no, you can use zip ties for both. Now, Temple Boards use those little plates. I did not become a fan of those plates real fast. I stuck them on pedals and I thought, this is the greatest thing ever, until one day you go, I don't want this pedal anymore. And then you got to tear this thing off and then figure out how to put re-adhesive on the back of this thing. And I'm not saying it was a bad experience, just saying I use zip ties on my Temple Boards. But those are 2 pedal boards I use. I like them. They're fine. There's tons of pedal boards out there, but those are the 2 I used. And that's why my favorite. But I'm telling you they're my favorite, but also why. It's just because I don't use Velcro. I use zip ties. It works for me. So, Music Therapy Laz, what's up, buddy? He says, I'm about to go buy a Steve I Legacy Carbon amp, and a used one, because they don't make them anyway, for $550. That's a good deal. That's actually a really good deal. So I can plug it into my 2 notes captor, into my cab, into my headphones. Am I crazy? No. No, not at all, man. No. Are you crazy? Is that something? No, that's not something I would say would make you crazy. So, like if you told me you were going to give plasma today, I'm going to give plasma today and I'm going to buy it. Actually, I still wouldn't think that was crazy. I was going for something I think was crazy, and after I said it, it didn't sound crazy to me. So, no. No. I was trying to make it funny, but I just decided to laugh without making a joke. So we'll keep these away. Keith says $20 for you. Oh, he did a super chat. $25 for you and $25 for my wife. Well, that's how their state of Arizona sees it. I'm kidding, of course. The state of Arizona would definitely give my wife 70 of that. And there's nothing wrong with that either, by the way. Unless, of course, a few of you out there are divorced, and I'm sure you've just unsubscribed for me saying that. And, of course, I mean no offense. Let's do some please, after that awesome $50 super chat, which is, thank you so much for that, Keith. No more super chats. Let's just ride out the rest of the show with some non-super chats. I haven't been into the non-super chats today. I was trying to get through those. And again, if you're trying to put something to me, put a question mark first so I know it's to me when I'm skimming through, and try to grab something interesting or something fun. Johnny wants to know if I've tried the Axe FX3. I have not really, but yes, my buddy Eric has the Axe FX3, and I went over his house and he let me plug in and try it and stuff. And he's got the rig, man. He's got the whole, like on steroids, Axe FX thing, where it's like everything you could want from that thing. And of course, I don't think Larry has the Axe FX3, but I've played Larry's Axe FX, and I've played a bunch of Axe FX. I had some Axe FX here at the house. And you know, there's and I've said this before with the Helix Stomp, it just works for me because it's small form factor. And the Helix Stomp, and this is my suggestion to people who haven't tried any of this stuff, I think that's the gateway drug into this stuff. I think the Helix Stomp is like, if you don't understand that stuff, which is most of us, you know, and setting presets and all this stuff, the HX Stomp is like, I mean, don't get me wrong, the head rush stuff is even easier than that. But I'm just saying, if you go with the Helix Stomp, HX Stomp, if you mess with that and you feel like you can't figure any of that out after a few months, there's no shot for you for the rest of the stuff. But like I said, love that stuff. It sounds great. Like I said, to me, it's all tools and it has a practical use. I decided after playing Axe FX, after playing Kemper, I went through a whole deep dive on this, me personally, for my personal music journey. And what I realized was why I now have bias. I have bias, and I have a Guitar Rig 6 on my computers. That's what I decided. Axe FX to me, and it's just my opinion, Axe FX to me and Kemper to me is portable. If I'm at home, I can buy $150 software and it kicks ass. So, and I'm sure there's people out there who can explain to me, because as my friends that are in that techie world explain to me, but you don't understand, Phil, the blah, blah, blah mega processor can't process the reverb at the right speed of the blah, blah, blah. And that's why and I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm literally playing a Fender tube amp. You know what I mean? So basically that's my long way of saying, I like the software programs for my computers at home. And that's what I lean into. And then I have the HX Stomp if I need something portable. That works for me in the world I'm in. Also keep in mind too, a lot of people, like I said, when they have the Axe-Fx or the Kemper, it's all about having all these amps. And although I do have a lot of amps, I always remind everybody, I have a lot of amps because of YouTube. Not only because companies send out some amps sometimes, that's nice, and they let me keep them. They're just like, hey, you can keep them after I do the video, and I'm like, okay, so I have them now. And also, like I said, I'm interested in the Bogner, so I wanted to try it out, so I bought one. This is an adventure I'm going down, personal journey kind of thing with this, but yet I wouldn't do a pedal review with this Bogner because half the comments would be like, man, I don't know what that pedal sounds like because you played it through a Bogner. So I play the pedal through the Fender. You know what I mean? Or something that's more, so I keep amps sometimes for demos and I keep amps for certain things. And by the way, I kind of sounded dicky when I just said that right now. There's nothing wrong with saying that comment, by the way. Anyone ever says like, I don't understand what that pedal sounds like because you have a Bogner. They're not wrong. They're totally right. I don't know why I made it sound like they're the jerk in that equation. I apologize. I was just trolling I was trolling somebody. Look at that. I'll be honest with you too. How about we'll do this for next, something to give you guys something exciting for. We'll do a giveaway at the end of the show right now. Let's do the giveaway. And then I'll give you something to be excited for next Friday that won't be super exciting. I told you guys I bought a new $300 something amp. I really like it, but I like it so much that I refuse to tell you guys until I buy another one. I want another one. So I'm ordering another one. And then I'll tell you guys, because there's about a dozen out on the internet right now. And I'm pretty sure if I said something right now, with my luck, and like I point out, not because of me, I'm not saying I have any kind of power. I'm saying you guys are all junkies. You guys are just waiting. I can see it right now. I could see you guys right now going, why doesn't you just tell me the amp is now? I'll buy it now. So anyways, we'll talk about that next week. And what's funny about that amp is it came at a bad time because it came after I got an expensive amp and I like it better. And that's the worst feeling, if you guys all know, right? You buy this expensive product and then you buy a cheap one and then you're like, oh, the cheap one's just as good, if not better. Nice. Giveaway. Okay, so we have a guitar crate. Look at that. What? Like that to give away. Look at that. Guitar crate is giving me some guitar crates to give away. So we have one. Let's do it. What should we do? We should do hey, Robert Baker's in the house. I can't give you one, Robert. That would be the best. That would be the best way to get this show viral out on the internet. The title would be "Some Asshole YouTuber Gave Another YouTuber a Gift." Right? This is like won the prize. They'd be like, "Yeah, it's rigged." I'll be like, "Who has the most subscribers right now? Let me look," and then that's who gets it. I hope you guys know sometimes I have to entertain myself as much as I try to entertain you guys. Let's do this. You know what? Do me a favor, and I'm not going to tell you what the answer is going to help you. Okay. Remember, you got to be in the US because this is got to ship by Guitar Crate, but I'm going to do a Guitar Crate that ships international. I'll figure out how to get that done. Here's what I need you to do. Tell me in the number how many months it's been since you bought a pack of strings. Now, keep in mind, I might pick the person that says 1 month, and I might pick the person that says 320. But just type a number, and after I get about a dozen of you, the first dozen of you, I'm going to pick one of those numbers. So all you got to do is just put a number of how many months it's been since you bought a new pack of strings. It's Justin D said 3 months. Sean said 1 month. August said 1. 1, right? 5. Somebody put LOL. Or 101. It could be 101. 12 months, 2 months, 4 months, 3 months, 12 months. 12 months. Okay, let me look. Okay, you can stop now. I have enough numbers. All right, ready? I'm going to tell you who the winner is. It is, Hold on. This stupid thing jumped. It's Telecaster 48. Of course he won, or she won. It's 12 months. It's been a year since you bought strings. Are you looking at the other numbers? 1 month, 4 months, 1 month, 2 months. You are hanging out with some... You are not as gear crazy as some of the other viewers here. So you were the first one to give me an answer 12 months. Of course I was going to pick the person with the longest amount of time because they're going to get free strings. So Telecaster 48, you just won a guitar crate. Look at that. It's going to have some stuff like that. It'll definitely have some strings in there. If you, when you email me at pmcknight7@gmail.com and put that you're the winner or something in the text that I know what that is, so I can forward it to Guitar Crate. Also, if you tell me what gauge of strings you use, 10s, 9s, acoustic or electric, no other information about the box. Apparently I can tell Guitar Crate that. So you guys know, I guess that's the thing with Guitar Crate, is that when they send these out, they're random, right? But I guess if, you can tell them that. And so you aren't getting, so in case you guys are concerned, if you, buy $45 Guitar Crate and get $45 worth of random stuff, you're definitely not going to get, 12 gauge strings if you play 9s. So you put in what kind of gauge you get, and that's the gauge you get. So Telecaster 48, definitely tell me what gauge strings you play and if you play acoustic or electric, so they know which box to send to you guys. So that's hopefully a good way to start your Halloween weekend. There you go. On that note, I think we did it. We did the show. 2 hours. We kicked butt. Woohoo! And I knocked my phone on the floor. That's all right. So anyways, on that note, like I said, next video I think is going to be the Tremonti podcast video. If not, there'll be something else before that. Like I said, I'm trying to have a video out on Halloween no matter what. In case you guys are sitting around watching trick-or-treaters, maybe you can watch a no gear video while you're give you something to do while you're handing out candy. And on that note, next week we'll talk about the little amp I bought that was cool and only $300 and something. And as that, everybody, I guess if you participate in Halloween, happy Halloween. If not, have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you guys soon. As always, thank you guys so much for your time. Till the next time, next week. Oh, one other thing that it won't matter is I don't know when daylight savings is, but I never got a chance to tell anybody. And this is the end of the show, so now no one will still know, except for you cool people hanging out at the end. We are not changing for daylight savings time. My daughter drives herself to school now. So if you guys remember, I used to have this time slot because it worked, of course, aligned itself with taking my daughter and picking my daughter up from school. She drives herself to school. So what we're doing is 3 o'clock Pacific time is the official time of the show forever. So wherever Pacific time. So when California changes, we'll change with it. So we're 3 o'clock Pacific time. All right, guys, on that note, I will let you go to the next week at 3 o'clock Pacific time. Know your gear.